review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. He is award-winning author and the author of the award-winning Quest Fantasy series, no other than Mr. Bill Senyard.
It's great to be here, Daniel.
Welcome to Book 101, Mr. Bill. And can you please introduce more about yourself?
Sure. Yeah, I've been doing a lot of things engineering, business. I was a pastor for 25 years, and now I'm writing fantasy books for teenagers and faith based fantasy books. But it's a passion of mine. I think the 10 to 15-year-olds in the world today are troubled. They need help. They need something to give them some hope. And so that's my passion. One teenager at a time, one parent, one grandparent at a time.
Indeed, Mr. Bill Senyard. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world and hoping for more and more and more award winning pieces like this to come or award winning series to come. So let's talk about your Kingdom Quest fantasy. Can you tell us about this?
Yeah, I've shaped the Kingdom Quest fantasies really along the philosophical writing wisdom of Tolkien, J.R.R. Tolkien of the Lord of the Rings series, and C.S. Lewis, the Chronicles of Narnia. I think they understood. Their initial writings were partly written for teenagers post World War II Britain when they were suffering what we call today PTSD. The kids had lost family members, they had suffered bombing. And partly Lewis and Tolkien wrote books in the style that would actually give them hope, that would give them a future. And then in the United States, when Tolkien's books landed here in 1965, this was during the Vietnam War era and the assassinations in 68, 69. It was very troubling times here. And his Kingdom trilogy, the Lord of the Rings trilogy, just exploded among the teenagers because it gave them an escape. It gave them a hope. It gave them the sense that things could actually work out. I think we've been missing those types of books, those types of fantasies, particularly in the 10 to 16-year-old age group, which is incredibly important.
Definitely. Indeed, we need all those books that empower our
That's
generations to
it.
generations to come. Mr. Bill, what a real world myth, history, or personal experience inspired the Kingdom Quest universe?
Oh, for me,
Yes.
I think I, when my kids were small, they would not go to sleep, and so I would tell them stories, and it was never enough. Goldilocks and the Three Bears, and they would go
Never
more.
enough.
So I'd throw a dragon in, I'd throw a tank in, I'd throw a butterfly in, whatever it takes. So a half hour, an hour later, they'd finally be going to sleep. But it was stories, and we found out recently in neuroscience research that parents who tell their children whose parents tell them stories even long before they could read, they actually grow up to be more secure. They actually grow up to be more better partners and have more positive attitudes and better relationship with their parents. There's something in the neuroscience about all of this that helps. Another research says that reading a good book, particularly for teenagers, reduces their anxiety by 68%. That's
Hmm.
incredible. Social media increases anxiety 40 to 50%. Something about the way our brains are and a good book, particularly fairy tales, the way Tolkien and Lewis imagined them, it actually causes something nice to happen in our kids' brains.
Definitely. And empowering them
Yep,
because we need to do that for our generation to generations to
we do.
come. How did you balance intricate world building with fast paced storytelling for your readers?
Yeah, world building is critical for fantasy stories, and Tolkien said it. The world buildings need to be fantastic and unbelievable, and yet realistic at the same time, and that helps the escapism because the reader, well, you know this, the readers need to actually get kind of immersed into this new world that has things that are fantastic and unbelievable, and yet they're in it. And one of the things Tolkien talked about was escapism, not sorry, escape, not escapism. So kids who have anxiety, they've got family troubles, they've got whatever identity issues, they can enter these worlds and they can enter into the shoes of the heroes, the protagonists, and they can kill dragons or they can conquer enemies, and in the end, uh, at least in Tolkien's novels, uh, justice wins, the good wins over evil, and it's just a fantastic thing. And so children leave the book and they actually feel like they can accomplish something. It's great for identity, for confidence. Um, yeah, it just makes them look at the world better.
Yes, they are totally inspired.
Inspired's the right word. Exactly right.
Yes. Is your antagonist purely evil, or how do you explore motives
Mm.
without excusing harm?
Interesting. No, the antagonist. That's a really good question. They're three dimensional, so sometimes they're flawed. Actually, they're all flawed, but in the end, they expose themselves as wanting to do damage, wanting to do evil, wanting to plot against good, and that's one of the things that Tolkien really developed very well. I mean, so if you in Lord of the Rings, they were, I mean, there's a new movie coming out with Smeagol, Gollum, and Gollum is going to be the protagonist in this new movie. And Tolkien, his character is allowed for that kind of dimension. But in the end, he did some things that were trying to stop the actual protagonist from doing what they had to do. He was a flawed character. We sort of think that maybe he couldn't help himself. So yeah, there's definitely room for flawed evil characters. In my first book, uh, the bad guy, the antagonist, is is really bad. His goal is to upset the king of Garden City, and he wants to embarrass him. He wants to shame him, and he's from the very beginning of the book, it becomes very clear. And so anybody associated with the king is going to be subject to his trickery and his deceit and his shaming, and he will in the end be defeated. But then he returns in the next book because for whatever reason the king is actually using him to grow the characters, to grow the protagonist.
Mr. Bill, how did you make your young heroes feel real flaws, doubts, and all without adultizing them?
How do I make them feel real?
Yes.
Yeah, that's key. Characters, particularly in fantasies, for the protagonist, well, they need to be relatable. So in my books, for instance, the first one, the unlikely prince, this poor kid was adopted by the king, and the king made him the prince, and he doesn't feel like he's worthy. He doesn't feel like he should be the prince, and he's got this insecurity. Every teenager, whether they're if they want to be honest, they're definitely can relate to that. The insecurities, wanting to prove themselves to their father figures, to the people in authority, the people they want to like them. And so he asks the king for this quest, and the king sends him out on this particular quest, and he fails. That's kind of the nature of this particular quest book. It's not the typical quest formula. In this one, he fails. And he finds that the real quest is, how do I go back to the king? And what am I going to find with this king when I go back and admit that I've totally failed? Is the king going to embrace me? Is the king going to lecture me? Is the king going to shame me? And that's that's in the mind of teenagers. They want to know two things: am I enough? Am I lovable? Am I worthy? Am I handsome enough? Am likable enough? The second thing is they want to know: is there somebody who has my back when things get screwed up, when I fail? So this is very relatable. It's relatable issues, important issues for teenagers. Parents should know these things. In my last book, the one you had up on the screen, the tale of the orphan magician, um, It's all about searching for father. I believe that it's foundational to all of us, male, female, no matter what race or what country you come from. We're born searching for father. And I don't mean male, paterfamilias. I mean this embrace, this relationship, this hug where I feel like I'm loved and I'm enough as I am. I don't have to prove anything in that relationship. And in that relationship, somebody has my back. I feel safe and secure. So we're all searching for that. And if I don't find it, I'm going to grab it somewhere or I'm going to try to steal it from somebody. And that's conflict and that's wars. And that's so the whole book revolves around characters. Every one of them is somehow searching for father. And in the end, a good fantasy, many of the characters will actually find that relationship, that father relationship that they didn't even know they needed.
Mr. Bill, totally interesting. The magic within. What unintentional wisdom emerged while writing about battles and magic?
Say again?
What unintentional wisdom emerged while writing about battles and magic
Yeah, in battles within, you said, or just battles in themselves.
with themselves?
Yeah. Uh, in this last book, one of the things that the storyteller, who happens to be a dragon who is in charge of keeping all the kingdom's wisdom and quest tales, um, he actually sets this lecture up where he describes all wars, all conflicts, all arguments, starting off with this need, this desire for father, for enoughness. And so, in all of these battles, people are fighting. They kind of get into the end of the battle, but behind the scenes, what's causing it, the power behind it, is everybody's looking for this place where they feel enough, where they feel safe and secure. And the book basically is teaching, and this goes straight with Tolkien, is that if we actually experience that more, and the book talks about ways you can do that in fantasy language, but if we can experience that more, there will be less wars, there will be less arguments, there'll be less depression, less suicide, um, less doing drugs. All of those things are partly due to people who are searching for this enoughness and aren't finding it in their relationships.
How does your series expand bravery beyond sword fights?
Bravery.
Yes, sir.
Oh yeah, bravery. Uh, the heroic, the heroic characters, the heroic protagonist. They don't start off that way. They start off. In the case of the orphan magician, he was orphaned at 8 when his parents were assassinated, and he was adopted by the dragons. And he was bitter. He's cynical, and he's learned magic. You know, he's learned street magic. He doesn't have the power of magic. He just learned how to do cards, and so he's making a go of it. And he is plucked from the streets of the city of Buza to help him win the war using trickery. So he learns to fight, but he learns to fight with the skills that he has, and his confidence grows. His awareness that he's searching for father grows, and in the end, uh, he is he basically single-handedly defeats an army of dwarves, and it's kind of fascinating how he does it using trickery, using magic. It's just a lot of fun.
Lots of fun for sure. Why do you think this series connects so deeply with our judges and reluctant readers?
Yeah, what they say is that the world building is solid, the text is readable, and the characters relatable. And one of the other things they point out is it is riddled with a lot of humor, and that's kind of rare in fantasy books today. But the characters in my last book, one of the characters is the magic pouch, who is really snarky and cynical and throws out these funny quips. He's just laughable. And one reader review said it's just laugh out loud funny. So I think the character development, the theme that's staying consistent throughout the book, and the character arc of the characters has been noted. In the second book, The Storyteller's Tale, this poor lady was abused by her father and forced to become a boy so he could win a bet in a card game. And so she's sent off to the British Navy and has to pretend she's a boy. She gets kidnapped by pirates, but she's got all of these emotional wounds, much like girls 10 to 16. And somebody starts digging up her past, which girls 10 to 16 are afraid of. Somebody coming up, exposing all of their uglies. And so she has to learn how to deal with the wounds, how to deal with pain, how to forgive, how to deal with those things. And so these are relatable issues that every teenager struggles with. The third book, The Garden Tale, deals with social media and social media addiction, and actually all addiction. But the antagonist, the evil Gorgon, Dolos, he's convinced the entire world that there is no more king, and he's using a social media to gaslight the entire country. So the king has to send in special forces, kind of Jack Ryan-esque, in order to basically save the nation from this deceiver. Again, so I'm picking up relevant themes that parents and grandparents and teenagers are struggling with.
Mr. Bill, as an award-winning author, what are your short-term and long-term goals?
I'm going to keep writing. I actually have three more books in process. Two are being edited now. Just before I spoke with you, I was working on book number 6, and it is going to be a lot of fun. Somebody is taking away memories, and the question is, if we lose our memories, who are we? Are we still us? And if somebody's robbing us of our memories that are happy or sad or even painful, I stop being myself. And the idea behind the book is that all of us have a core memory, a core positive memory that makes us who we are. And if the bad guy can steal that, are we who we are? So we guard memories.
Good luck to your goals, Mr. Bill. I'm looking forward for more success, and please
Thank
do
you.
come over and let's talk about the book 6 or book 7 or the more series to come for your fantasy novel. And what will be your piece of advice for those people out there who want to be award-winning author too, like you?
Start telling stories. That's it. That's what you do. You have to start telling stories to your children, to your friends. Start thinking in stories. Start reading good stories like Tolkien, like Harry Potter. Um, those are just excellent stories. These are gifted authors who know how to tell stories. But I would highly recommend J.R.R. Tolkien, the master storyteller.
Thank you for your advice, Mr. Bill. And what did Writing Kingdom Quest teach you about resilience or creativity?
Ah, everything. I just, it's uh, it's fun when you get into these stories. I'm not the kind of author who plans these things. I think I have an ending, but I start writing chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, and then the story just begins to take off and the characters come to life. The humor starts breaking out and it just begins to flow. And so creativity is the creativity dopamine is amazing. And then when it's finished and people read it and they see themselves in the character, or it helps them feel better about themselves, or it helps them raise their teens better. Oh my goodness, dopamine plus.
Dopamine plus, indeed. And how do you expand readers' language without losing them in archaic terms.
Ah, see, I'm again back to Tolkien. Tolkien and Lewis, they uh, they use terms and images and imagery and concepts that children 10 to 15 wouldn't have been able to. I mean, they would have had to grab a dictionary. They would have had to ask an adult. They believe that you don't talk down to children. You actually expect that they're going to rise up to the occasion and rise up to the account and the story. And I totally believe that. So I'm throwing in imagery and words, having fun with all kind of technology. I'm totally using anachronisms like nobody else that I know of because I'm working with children, and children have an attention span of a goldfish. So we just have a lot of fun. But I don't talk down to children. I'm expecting them to. They're going to need to Google not every other word, but certainly 4 or 5 words in every chapter.
Which character do marginalized readers thank you for most and why?
Say that again, please.
Which character do marginalize
Mm.
readers thank you for most and why?
Yeah, the latest character, Reggie Brownstone, this orphan magician, has turned out to be extremely popular to both boys and girls. He's 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 definitely personable. He wears his emotion on his sleeves. He has this. His best friend is a magic pouch, and he just turns out to be high character. He's been underestimated his entire life. He lost his parents. He comes to the book very cynical. And matter of fact, in the first scene, the police find him passed out on a park bench after drinking too much. And he's 18, 17, 18. Yeah, he's been a very, very real human character, not a cartoon character by any stretch.
Mr. Bill, totally interesting fantasy novels. And before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please don't listen to my other podcast, people, my other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and book
Congratulations.
one. Thank you so much. And book 101 review for sure. It's fifth season as well. Comedy 101 in second season and Food 101 in fifth season too. Geography 101 in fourth season, and my baby podcast Law 101 and Mental Health 101. Love
Wow.
Letters in the third season, and Movie 101 review and Music 101 in its fourth season, and Science 101 and Sex 101 in its first season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. Mr. Bill, if this series ignites one lasting change in readers, what would you want it be?
Hope. We're
Yes.
giving readers hope, and during troubled times, the world's a mess right now. So if we can give kids the same hope that Tolkien's book gave the British teens and after World War II, and the teenagers in the United States in the 1960s, I would feel really really good about that. Parents, get your kids to read good Tolkien-esque fantasies. They'll thank you for
Yes, indeed. No buts, people. Let's support our generations to
it.
generations to come. Mr. Bill Senyard, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. And we are hoping for more and more and more empowering books like this to empower our future generations. So, can you please invite our listeners to support all your books?
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Yes. So, where do people buy your books, Mr. Bill?
Amazon, Kindle, Audible, or they can go to drbillsenyard.com.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. Bill Senyard because, as I said, if you support him, for sure, more and more and more empowering books like this to empower our future generation. Mr. Bill, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Modicon people, see you soon.